Psychronic, you there? Yo, please tell me you ain't leave me hanging, man. What happened? Okay. Well. Well. Looks like I myself have taken over the RTP podcast this evening. If you're on the East Coast, Psychronic was here just a minute ago, and D7 is, I think, at the urgent care with his daughter. I think they ran into an emergency. Nevertheless, welcome to the Really Typical Players podcast. This is going to be a discussion episode. We're not reviewing a game, but we are discussing what makes a good story. I'm going to need a few minutes, so I'm going to just sit here and entertain chat until we get this all sorted out. So feel free to voice your criticisms now. Unjaded, no longer bound by the others. Yeah, for sure. It's all me today. Oh, okay, look at the Discord. Looking. Checking. Oh my god. So, oh my god. Okay. Psychronic's internet just went down. This is crazy. Maybe it wasn't in the cards to have this episode. I'm chatting in the Discord now, trying to get in touch with the guys, see what's going on with them. Open the door.
Hey, Dad.
What's up?
Can I have something to crazy? Are you on a podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Alright. Yeah. Okay. Dang, man. So, as you can tell, this was like... somebody said, no, I'll do a solo episode. Dang. I would like to. Hey, let me know if you guys can hear the royalty-free music that I have in the background. For whatever reason, I can't hear it. But, yeah, let me know if you can. Oh, okay. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I was not prepared to do this podcast like all by myself. Messages are coming in the Discord. Yeah, by the way, if you're not in the Discord, we have a Really Typical Players Discord. Yeah, feel free to like hop in and complain over there. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We're on YouTube and Twitch simultaneously. Oh, goodness. Now we get to watch the main character. Okay, so thanks for that compliment on the main character. Yes, the timing sucked. Getting messages from Psychronic, he said he contacted Comcast, so that's the first problem. We just recognize that his internet provider is indeed Comcast, which is ranked last in the list of providers you want to have giving you internet service. This is about to be a solo episode. I'm gonna sit here and ramble. It's not good to sit here and ramble for an hour and a half. Oh, am I low? Let me know if I'm low. I can turn myself up. Oh, or I'll turn the music down a little bit, and then y'all can turn me up over there. Oh, you said I'm not speaking with enough confidence? Oh, goodness. Well, it's not that I'm not confident. It's just that I don't want to impose all of my own personal opinions. I like to have a bit of a consensus about the topics that we discuss. Yeah, music probably too high. I did turn it down a little bit. Let me know if I should turn it down some more. Be confident, all right. Well, you know. I am. Thanks for that. So, we for sure did have a really good episode for you guys. We planned it over the weekend and throughout the Thanksgiving break. We have some good discussion topics to go through. And I think that this one would have been super engaging. So the last discussion topic was why RPG Maker is the best engine, but this one goes across all games, AAA and indie, and even other forms of media like movies and stuff like that. Oh, okay. Someone says a good level. Okay, cool. How about I give you guys, I don't know, a little bit of a peek at the topics that we were planning on discussing. No. Before we even do that, how about in the chat, let me know what games you're currently playing. Please let me know. The Steam Fall Sale just ended, and I picked up a couple titles, and I got back into some games. And if you tell me what y'all are playing, then I'll tell you what I'm playing. Okay. Somebody said Virgo versus the Zodiac. Interesting. Okay. Hey, looks like we got somebody. We got Psychronic, looks like. Okay. Oh, somebody just finished Metaphor ReFantasia. Currently playing Dragon Quest 3. Okay. Have you played Dragon Quest 11? That's pretty good. I played Dragon Quest 3, the retro version, and I think I'm looking forward to playing 3. The HD 2D remake. Alright, so we got Psychronic back, but now I gotta, I think, press the button to get his voice back. Hey, Psychronic, you back?
Yes.
Alright, cool. We have a show now. Whew.
Yeah. Sorry about that. My internet went out like 30 seconds before we were about to stream. So.
Yeah, how tragic is that?
It's stupid, but whatever.
Yeah, first is the bomb cyclone. It's super cold all across the U.S., and then D7's daughter, and they're in maybe like the clinic or something, and then this, man, it's like wicked turn of events, but the show must go on.
Yeah, let's just rip through it anyway. Yeah,
for sure. All right, so we're back again. Welcome. This is the actual discussion podcast for what makes a good story, and I am the host today, Marlon Unjaded, and to my left on the screen is Psychronic from Psychronic Games, and you can tell I'm already like not good at introducing people. But anyway, how you feeling today, Psychronic? You ready to get into this discussion? And he's gone again. What is going on? What is going on? bro, like, imagine this is going to be the recording. This is going to be the recording. People are going to get on YouTube and watching it like first whole 20 minutes. Maybe I would say about 15 minutes. Is just technical difficulties. So yes, yes. Jankernet, yes, Jankernet. I don't know, he connecting the satellites or what, but Jesus, Murphy's Law, yes, Murphy's Law for sure. Oh man, this is like the dead family truly come back to like that. Yeah, look. Guess what though? They left the best host. The best host. I'm not going to toot my horn too hard, but I'm still here. Murphy's Law didn't cut me out. I'm still here. So I'm gonna. I don't know. I don't really want to go on with the show without the guys. I feel like, I'm sure everybody was looking forward to D7's input, and this is Psychronic's whole thing. He says he loves stories. So, I wanted to give him a chance to really elaborate on his idea of, what a good story is and examples of good stories. And this is like, to be honest, this is almost Psychronic's discussion. That's kind of like why I'm hosting it, in a sense. To play a children's card game to see who's taking their place temporarily. What's a children's card game? Like Go Fish or something? Alright. Okay, I gotta unmute you again, so you're back again. For the second time. We need to hurry up and hop into this before my power goes out or something, apparently.
Is your power gonna maybe go out?
Obviously not. No, it's like I'm just saying. Somebody said Murphy's Law, so I'm feeling that right now. I'm really feeling it.
Yeah.
Whatever can happen will happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I was telling the gang, this is kind of like your favorite part of RPGs, right? Stories, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't play RPGs if they didn't have good stories.
Yeah, so this discussion is like kind of, you're going to enjoy this discussion. Hold on. We got somebody else coming in on the Ninja video here. I think we only got
I can hear you. He has to still unmute you, I think, though.
Okay. What up?
And add your URL to the...
I think... Okay, boom. Give me 1 second.
Oh, there's no video. Okay.
Yeah, there's no video, but I need to get your audio up in here. This one. Alright. Okay.
So, but your phone has no video, D7?
So.
There you go.
What up we got?
Can y'all see me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
The gang is here. I was about to, carry y'all on my back for this episode. Everybody loves me more than
Scoot me
y'all.
over a bit. Scoot me over a bit.
All right.
There we
It's
go.
better.
Can't have it look jank. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The party's all together. Yeah, finally. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man. My daughter, both of them ain't feeling good, man. So we had to bring them to urgent care, and we just waiting to be seen by the doctor. But my wife is in there with them though.
Oh,
So,
okay. Dang, man. Well, glad you
yeah.
can make it, man. Hope your daughters are feeling better.
Yeah, I might have to jet. I told her to text me whenever they get called.
All right, cool.
So
Well,
yeah, gotta be dad,
For
but-
sure. I know how that is.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Good,
How y'all
good.
doing?
I'm good.
I'm doing pretty good, other than the internet outage right before the stream started.
Bet. Gotcha. All right, let's get this show on the road, man.
All right,
Let's get
cool.
it. Let's get it.
So let's get into the first topic. Ironically, this is going to make for a good story for later. How about that? Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's get into the first topic, which is okay. In every story, we need good pacing and narrative structure. When you hear the topic pacing and narrative structure, what components come to mind?
Well, one of the areas that comes to mind is like when you're talking about narrative structure. There's a common one that is used in a lot of stories. This relates to like movies and shows and stuff as well as RPGs. But there's like there's the 3-act structure where you have like a beginning, middle, and end. There's structures that are less linear. Depending on what you want to do, and then the pacing is like how quickly, or the pace at which the story unfolds. So you've heard of games where, like, it's been referred to as like, well, it's a good game, but it has kind of a slow burn, meaning like maybe it took too long to get started, and then you have games where maybe there's like too much shit going on in such a short period of time that you get overwhelmed and you lose track of what's going on. Then there, like. So pacing is like if it's going at the right pace where you can get sucked into it, but you don't feel like it's dragging.
For sure.
And of course a lot of games have done these areas pretty well, and some have done them pretty horribly. So I guess that's.
Yeah, let's dig into the act structure a little bit. Like you said, the 3-act structure, but act structure in general. Some games are structured into acts, and for instance, I think Final Fantasy 16 is structured into acts. What do you think about that structure for a game? Do you enjoy playing games that are structured in acts, or do you like to just play a story and just wind up at the end?
Well, it depends on how they pull it off, whether it's fun and interesting or whatever. I can say that in general, when it comes to like how well the Final Fantasy games do it, I think that most of them are pretty mediocre. But I really did like the original 7. I thought that had a clear narrative structure as far as like because you have like the beginning, because it is actually organized into acts, that game specifically, because you do have like you have the first act, which is like when you're in the big city, Midgar or whatever it is, and then that is a distinct part of the game. And then once you're out of the city, then you have another act where like there's stuff going on, but it's like a part of the game where you're like literally like roaming the world and doing a lot of like like world exploring kind of thing, and as it goes along, and then you have an end where the meteor's about to hit and it's like the final showdown or whatever, right? And so and I thought that game, I thought the original was pretty good on that. There's games that I would say have, well, I'll just leave it at that. I think that I think that it's that I enjoy games with whether they have a normal structure or whether they have something unusual, but it doesn't pull it off. I thought FF7 pulled it off the best. I didn't really. I liked FF10 too. I didn't like the ones after 10 very much. Like I didn't really like 13. I didn't really like 15. I haven't played 16. I haven't played the remakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, somebody from chat, I'm gonna just bring them in. Annoyed Nova says, "What is well pacing and what is horrible pacing?" And
yes, so I think horrible pacing is when the timing is off. Like it's either going too fast to where you don't know what's going on because there's too much being thrown at you, or it's going too slow, and like it takes you like 5 hours to get to the action.
Okay, I mean I could agree, but let's dive in. D7, what you think? I did jump to the comments, but as far as the act structure, what's your preference, and then pacing? What are your thoughts? Hold up, something going on with the audio.
Can't hear D7.
Yeah, we can.
What you say?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So I can say it one time. So let's get the act structure out of the way. How do you feel about the act structure in a game, for that matter? Some games.
I don't like acts. I don't like act structures.
Okay. All right.
But
Okay.
in terms of story wise, in the pacing, I think Psychronic gave Final Fantasy VII, for example, right? That's like one of the games that really, stands out to a lot of people, and a lot of people, is drawn to that story. That's why, it has a big following because of the story. It has, the character introduction was done properly. The cause, the first act, as you could say, you already know who's your main enemy, who you're against. And they didn't drag it out as long, you know what I mean? You didn't get a lot of that filler quest, side quest, which modern RPG games does. And you can see a lot of that in the RPG Maker. They want to give us a story, but they have you do irrelevant stuff. So the pacing is bad. It's really slow. But at the same time, they want to give us an epic story, but people's losing interest because, like, oh my God, can you get to it already?
Right.
So
yeah, I see that a lot with RPG Maker games, like where you get bogged down in like helping your grandma with her cat and getting like items at the store and going into the forest to get a mushroom and come back.
Because I don't know why. I'm sorry, guys. I know there's AAA titles, but I'm on the RPG Maker right now. The problem with these RPG Maker developers, they either want to tell the story in totality, but at the same time they feel like it may not be long enough, so they give us all this extra stuff that doesn't make any sense. We get quests that's not related or have any lore, affinity to the main story. You know what I mean? I don't want to check every shelves and read every book to get that, that extra lore. Tell it within your story, like give us characters that can support that extra lore that you are trying to tell to your character. To your players, because giving us all this side stuff is not good, and it's not going to enhance what you're trying to tell to your players.
It can be good if the side stuff is relevant to the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, it has to be relevant. If it's not, then what does going to pick mushrooms, from a forest and killing 5 slimes got to do with me trying to figure out what the heck is going on in your game? Nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Another point.
Unless you said, okay, you need to get 5 slimes, I can make this potion in order for you to, get your powers to take off. I can understand that, but you know how it is, guys. You guys make games like that all the time, so you already know.
Yeah, to speak on the pacing, pacing is critical because it determines it impacts the player's engagement and their interests. I think I missed my part of my point, but that going back to the act structure, I think the act structure does hinder the story in a sense that you feel like it is perpetually about to end, because if you're playing a game for the first time and you see you're in Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, by the time you get to around Act 3, you're thinking, okay, was that it? So I think players need to be mindful about considering that structure. But then I think the implicit structure, like what you're saying, Psychronic, for Final Fantasy VII, it kind of works because it gives the player an open world section, which is part of an act when they talk about the whole story. And
you can do different things in that act, like you can go to like Gold Saucer and stuff, but it's still kind of relevant to the actual story and what's going on, so it doesn't feel like it feels good when you're playing. I don't know.
But a bad example is Final Fantasy 15, where if you play that,
which one is that? Oh,
the one with the car where they're on the road trip.
Yeah,
that's the one with Noctis, right? The print.
Well, I would say from my memory, there's probably about 5 acts, and when you get to the 5th act, you reach a point in the middle of the game where I would say you're about 70% through. You reach a revelation point, something big happens, but then it zips you to the end, and once you get to that end, because of the story, you're heavily limited by what you can do and how you can even impact that story. So it seems like it's almost like you come in through a narrow funnel, as all games do. They want to introduce you to the world. They open up the world, but then they quickly squeeze it back in to that narrow tunnel around the end. And that's all because of the story, right? It's not like you just fight the boss in the middle of the world or something like that. You have to go to a special, you have to go back to the main town that you came from, and that main town wasn't developed. So they want to end the story. I don't want to get into it too much, but I would say that's actually one of our examples of a bad story.
And speaking of which, since it's on the screen now, one of my favorite games for narrative structure is the Suikoden 2. I felt like that game had a really good structure. You start off as just some kid in the military, and you're about to go home, but you get sucked down a rabbit hole, when you realize that you've been betrayed by your own country, and hence it leads to this middle. There's a lot of characters in that game, right? So there's 108 characters you can get on your team, and so part of the narrative structure of when the game gets a little more open-ended at a certain point, you have a base of operations or a castle, and you're trying to build it up. So there are side things to do in it, but it felt like it was part of the game because you were trying to get these people to join your movement, and there's a lot of gritty war stuff going on in the game and stuff. And so I thought it was really
hey, you guys, my wife just texted me. I gotta head on out, but before I leave though, y'all have a good episode and listen to Psychronic and Marlon as they discuss. I would try to hop back on if I can, but other than that, in the nutshell, I feel like, a lot of developers try to write a book in their game, and they try to explain it, just like a book. But sometimes your reader has to take a break from that book. Books are more detailed. Games, they just give you the visual aspect of it, just like movies. Sometimes the story is over exaggerated to bring action, and engagement to the player. Now, if you're just drawing out your story without those action breaks, your player is not going to get, they're going to get bored. And a lot of times, you see it all the time when there's too much dialogue, they skip. The players is skipping the good part, of your story. They're no longer interested. They just want to see the other thing, or they just want to get through the game. And a lot of games suffer like that. Even AAA games, you know, they could give you so much dialogue. And one of the games, you may hate me, Marlon Psychronic for saying it. I mean, Marlon is Dragon Age 11. They do it a lot. Lots of dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
lots of dialogue. And when you get to the action, it's a lot of linear stuff. I'm sorry to say it. I love the game. It looks good. It plays good, but the pacing could be
For
so
sure.
crazy sometimes.
Yeah, man. But we should have a talk on that. Like narrative structure is probably a good topic anyway. But man, thanks for hopping on that. Period. And let us know. Hopefully your daughter's doing fine.
All right, y'all. I'll see y'all later.
All right, peace out, man.
Later.
All right. So I guess to bring plot, pacing, and narrative structure to a close, we didn't really get to talk about other forms of narrative structure. But
yeah, like there's games that are totally non-linear too, and don't have a traditional structure.
For sure.
And are able to pull it off.
But generally, I think we would like to incorporate more interactivity due to the form of media in the telling of the story. So like D7 said, not so much dialogue, but if we could, select options, or if we could, view some impactful moments. I like some of I'm speaking specifically for RPG Maker games that have like scrolling images and reveal things in an interactive way. And
you can tell the story without using words.
Exactly.
By showing the player thing. The show don't tell is pretty common thing.
Yeah.
Pretty common good advice. It's not that dialogue is bad, but I would define it as like you use as much as necessary, but as little as possible. Like it's to get it to the point where don't dumb it down where they won't understand it, but don't over explain either. Otherwise it does get boring.
Yeah, like they got that play movie option in the engine where you could play a video, which is like it could be a cutscene or some sort of action that takes place, like a special effect or something like that. That says, okay, this is this part of the story. Yeah,
but the video player in the engine is not that great. I actually use my plugin for all of those because I can just use like regular MP4 files and they play better and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. But, well, hell yeah. Do as Psychronic suggested. In the chat, I was just gonna. Yeah. Somebody asked a question in the chat as they said, by the metric you just laid out, does Dark Souls have a bad story?
I haven't played Dark Souls, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. I played Dark Souls. Okay. So, Dark Souls has a bad story. I'm just put it out there. It has a bad story because it's not told. The story only is good for the players that read the item descriptions, and in order to then understand the world that they are in, to then understand the interactions that they go through, their whole purpose. So, in my honest opinion, I love Dark Souls, one of my favorite games of all time, and by extension, Elden Ring, and Bloodborne and stuff like that. But the story is bad, and I think it's bad on purpose, because with that because it's so disjointed and not told and open-ended, it leaves your mind to be able to create a understanding that you yourself travel with. It's like it's part of the adventure, the imagery, the items, the issue with the entire world. I think they talking about time being convoluted. These like messages that express the situation you're in. Not a good story, but it is substantial enough to be like, okay, as I'm going through this adventure, you're constantly going through your mind like, these must be this and these must be this, or I must be doing this because of this. So that's my take on it. So let's hop into our next topic, which is
Oh yeah.
some text on the screen. Is this the next one? Damn it. Plot. The backbone of
Yeah.
a story. Okay.
Yeah. So, when plot is pretty important in a lot of stories. I've seen a lot of games that had like really good plots and games that didn't have much of a plot. Like sometimes you can have a game that doesn't have much of a plot, but like you can have like really good character development, and then sometimes you have a game that's really plot heavy, but yeah, like there's a lot going on in the universe, but not necessarily like any in particular character that you can grab onto. So so back to the other game I was just talking about, this Suikoden 2. I feel like Suikoden 2 has some good character development for some of the characters, but because they have so many characters, the game kind of to me feels more plot driven than character driven in my opinion. But that I'm okay with that. I'm a plot guy myself.
Mhm.
So because you have a very clear plot in that game. You have like where the villain is the prince of your country. He does like a false flag attack on your unit as the main character in order to start a war, and then you escape. You're the only one that escapes, so you have to escape to the other place that they're going to declare a war on. And then the story kind of, and then at the same time there's runes, which are like the magic, right? And you and your best friend who escaped got these two runes that if you both get these two separate runes, you're destined to basically fight each other. So it ends up going down a narrative where you end up having to face off against your best friend, and the narrative structure or the plot of the story is pretty clear. You're trying to get all these infighting nations to like work together to stop the greater threat, and then the villain is like totally evil. So there's even like there's a big thing to ambush him, and you have to use 3 separate parties to take him down and stuff. And I just thought it had a good plot. I also thought that the another series that I thought was really good with the plot was the Mass Effect series. I really liked the original trilogy. Andromeda.
Yeah, 1 through 3. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's so many like good games out there that it's like hard to like talk about even just one of them. But like the plot is basically like the idea of the story. Like you have like the nations in the story. You have the impetus for why these characters are thrown into a specific situation, and they have to get past the situation. And it's clear to the player what is going on in this world and what they have to do. And I think that it's important for the most part. Like I think there's examples where you could say that that you could play around with it where there isn't much of a plot, but it's still good in some way. But I think plot's pretty important usually. And I see in a lot of the RPG Maker games that sometimes there isn't much of a plot. Like you feel like sometimes like you have no purpose. Like why am I, like there's all kinds of things to do, but why am I doing it? Why does it matter? Why should I care about this? In this situation or not? Right?
Yeah. When I think about plot, and when I'm drafting a story of my own, I think about usually I start with an event creating like a ripple effect. I don't want to sound really like tropey, but it creates reasoning for other events to happen, and it creates motives for the characters, and then the protagonist is put in at whatever point I want them to interact with the plot, given the pacing of the story. So, dramatic meteor shower hits the world, right? How does that shape the characters? Okay, some towns are destroyed, some people are, fearful. Some corporations or large factions of people create a somewhat makeshift solution to the problem, and there's a couple of characters who are with the solution or against the solution. The actions that they take are my plot, and then I start building from there. So I did see your message, Annoyed Nova. I want to answer your question actually, but
Yeah.
that's
You're fine, Annoyed Nova. Yeah. So sometimes we just don't see it till a little bit later. Yeah. But
so that's what I think when I talk about the backbone of a story. That's what I think the plot is. It's like now all of the elements of the story, the setting, the world building, the characters, and all of that, the narrative structure and stuff, they hang off of the plot. So games that I think have a good plot would be, oh crap, I'm sorry, it's right there. Okay, I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 I think has a good plot. Is it a good game? I don't know, it's questionable. I think I enjoyed it, but don't get me started on the mechanics of it. But I think the plot is good, and it starts you off really good in the beginning.
what about twists?
Oh, okay. So twists for sure. Yeah, I mean,
One controversial twist I can think of. I liked the twist, but some people hated it. Was the third Star Ocean game? There was a big twist in that one.
Hold up, Star Ocean
till the
end of time. Yeah.
The twist was that you like in the beginning of the game. There's these basically you think they're aliens or you think they're another species, and they're just ships wiping everything out like a lot.
Yeah.
And it turns out that the twist is that the characters and the world they're inside of a simulation.
What?
And they are able to get out of the simulation, and when they get out of the simulation, it's actually scientists creating virtual universes that they wipe out when they're done with them and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I remember that. You make me want to fire up that PlayStation 2 right now.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah,
gracious.
but I like twists. Usually if they're good. I mean, usually they're I don't know. I enjoy them.
Mm-hmm.
I have plenty of twists in my games too.
Oh, okay, for sure. So I mean,
but you make the plot in a way where the player thinks it's gonna go one way, and then you surprise him with making it go another direction. I think it can go wrong, if you don't, if it's too outlandish, or the direction you go in doesn't seem like it would make sense or isn't believable, but or you're just trying to jump scare the player. But I do like twists.
Yeah, third Departure R. I mean, Star Ocean Departure R. Isn't that a remake of first one?
That's a remake of one.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the remake of the first one.
But
on PSP.
I'm talking about the third one, Till the End of Time, which that has the twist in it.
If you ever played,
but I liked the second one. As far as if we're talking about Star Ocean right now, I like the second one the most. The second story or whatever.
Yeah, Second Story R. Well, Second Story R. That's one still on my wish list. I'm kind of on the fence of HD 2D remakes, man, because I'm somebody who played the old ones, I'm like, all right, do I really?
I actually thought there was nothing wrong with the pre-rendered backgrounds of the original. They didn't necessarily have to do the HD 2D remake. Yeah. I actually think it looks a little worse.
Right.
To tell you the truth.
Hold on. I got Legend of Dragoon, and its whole plot. Crap.
Yeah. I played Legend of Dragoon, but I totally forgot what the plot was. What was?
Oh goodness. Bro, I only remember when the green guy died, and somebody else had to become the green one. But that really stuck with me. I don't really remember, but I do remember. I know Tales of, some of the Tales of series were really good. Tales of Symphonia, and Tales of God damn it. But anyway, I think the way they tell a story, and I can't remember. It's so far off. Hold up. I should have put a list together of stories that had specifically good plots. I did have an example of world building though, so I'll get to that. But
Yeah.
what do you think of? Oh man, what about like another game like Cyberpunk or something like that? Like as far as like, oh man, The Witcher. You think that plot was good or what?
I don't know. I kind of, it was kind of hard for me to get into the Witcher or Cyberpunk. Like I played Cyberpunk and it was like okay, but I don't have the desire to go back and play it again. And I felt like this. I actually felt like the story and the plot was kind of weak in Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The gameplay was good, but I just thought the actual like the character development and the plot kind of seemed like it was really wide open and not a lot going on, and then you get like railroaded at the end.
Yeah.
But I haven't played like the Phantom Liberty expansion or whatever, but like when I just played Cyberpunk for myself, I felt like the plot was a little weak.
Okay, so
I liked the parts with the flashbacks though. I liked those parts more than the actual plot.
So
the way with the Keanu Reeves character.
Yes, and
yeah, like those flashback parts were actually really good, and I didn't like the actual present day parts as much.
but that's what part I was going to refer to. So because I remember these games more vividly, weird enough, Johnny Silverhand playing his background scene, his like past scene, is how it builds the plot for you. It introduces you to that like the whole situation of why you have him in your brain and all of that stuff about but I think that was a spike in the story and a spike in the plot. I feel like once you get through that part, you get fully immersed in the game. You start to understand, because you're chilling with your tune, forgot his name from the beginning of the game, and then you're for a while you're just like thinking that you're just doing that up until which point there's a bit of another spike, but then Johnny Silverhand is the biggest spike, leading you're sliding downhill at that point. But then I think depending on, honestly, I think your decisions around the end, you get a good ending or a mediocre, we didn't finish the rest of the game type of ending. But because I feel like they really only built one path, and that was the path when you're out in the city with the nomads. I mean, out of the city with the nomads and doing that part, which was a good part. Right. And The Witcher, I think, was pretty good, but that was a game that didn't really have too many twists, honestly. It had a lot of quests, and the whole Siri bit was good, but I would say that they actually have side stories that are better than the main story in The Witcher, in my opinion.
It even has a Netflix adaptation.
Oh no! Don't even bring that up in this podcast. I canceled my Netflix subscription, but
I actually don't watch any Netflix these days. Like I don't know. For me it's like there's just nothing that is like that feels like it's good. Like when I'm trying to watch shit.
Yeah, I can tell you right now. The Witcher was painfully horrible to watch. If you've watched that, it's painfully horrible to watch, and not because of the female actors alone. It's just Henry Cavill really carried the character, but other than that, it's just why am I watching this? So, but to answer Annoyed Nova's question about a wordless story, I think about games that allow you to interact. When you walk up to a door and then you click a button and then the wall slowly shifts over, and then you enter a library where you're supposed to obtain the forbidden knowledge or something like that. I feel like once things happen on the screen and you can keep up with what's happening, that's an example of a good wordless story, right? It doesn't have to be like dialogue, anything like that, but like when things are happening and they shock you, like for instance, Cyberpunk, when you see Johnny Silverhand's gun and you see how it works, and you see him pulling out a bomb, and you see him, shooting from a helicopter and stuff, you kind of that immersion. I think that's good, quote unquote, wordless story, in my opinion. So, yeah. So I think these topics, we're running through these topics to let folks know, like, hey, these are elements of the story that we feel are important to us, and this is what we look at when we judge stories, especially in RPG Maker games.
Yeah, like you can have like a game where there's no speaking at all. You just have to build that world and make whoever is the character like experience it. You also have games that are like halfway there, where you have a silent protagonist. That's a thing too. For sure. But
that leads us straight into our next topic, character development. Yeah. So that's fun. So what game do you think? What's a game that sticks out to you that had really good characters? Okay. Let me like. I feel like a Sega Saturn. You put CD and I'm loading. I am now loading. So please wait. Matter of fact, here we go. Shenmue. Okay. Shenmue for Sega Dreamcast, right? When
I like Shenmue.
Yeah. So when you're playing as Ryu, you're just a kid, but then your dad gets beat up by a Chinese man. Whole time, like, you have to still go through your life. So throughout the game, you're like, you gotta get a job, you get a little girlfriend type deal, you learn how to ride a bike, but back in your mind, you still trying to avenge your dad. You know what I mean? You find the little guys teach you the martial arts, and then you mixing it up. You learn it from him, but you also gotta fight thugs every now and then. But it's almost like a pseudo love story, but you grow from that interaction. I think it's almost like a coming of age story, like a Japanese Karate Kid, right? So I think
that makes sense.
That's good character development. He still keep that same leather jacket and jeans though, which is that's kind of where it's holding him back a little bit.
Yeah.
What about you? What you think?
I mean, I liked that game too, but I one of the ones that sticks out to me that I thought had really good character development was the first. I'd say the first two in the series of Life is Strange.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've gotten worse with each one, but the first and the second one I really liked a lot, and like to kind of like have these characters and then see what happens to them if things change. Like there's like one instance where you have like the main character in the first Life is Strange game has a friend. I think her name is Chloe or something, and way back when, like, her dad died or something, and she turned out the way she did, but then you go back, you have a chance to go back and save her dad,
mm-hmm.
and then when you come back, she's like a totally different person and is like debilitated in a wheelchair and shit, and just totally I got kind of connected to the characters, so I got really invested in those characters for what happened and then there's always some kind of plot in it where you get where there's something like dark under the surface that you find out later that you didn't think would be what you'd find out and stuff, and I thought that game had some really good characters. Or like characters that feel realistic, like people, there's other examples too. But also I also really liked the characters like in Detroit Become Human.
Mm.
I thought that game had some good characters too. And of course, with the choices matter, you can make different choices, so different things happen and how it affects them and stuff like that. But,
I was just going to mention the distinction because they're almost like two different flavors of character development.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
so there's the growth that happens for a character. It could be a side character or a main character, but then there's the depth. I think when you start to reveal more about a character as time goes on, or through plot events, you learn more about a character's motive, or you learn more about the character's surroundings or their situation that they're in, or so there's that type of character development too. And
part-time experience, he says, and I really agree with this. From my experience with RPGs and years of writing, good character development often involves the character evolving significantly over the course of the story. How different is the character from the first appearance versus the last? Yeah, I totally agree, because that's what the story is. You're putting the character through something, and what do they do about it, and how they learn, and how they come out at the end to accomplish or not what they've set out to achieve, and you can see how they've changed. And that makes them feel more relatable. Like makes them feel like a real person, so to speak, that you can get relate to.
Yeah. So Annoy Nova made a comment about a character going back. If they go back to where they were doing what they were doing at the start of the story, then they have not developed enough. I do agree I do agree mostly with what you're saying, but at Dragon Quest XI, ironically, Hero, you go back to your main village at the end, and like you live there with your spouse of choice or whatever. Like, it's goofy, but the character does grow nonetheless though.
I don't know what it is about Dragon Quest, but I've tried to play them. I've tried to play the latest one, and I also tried to play, like, I think number 7 or something, and I've always found them to be very boring. I don't know what it is, but I find them to be incredibly boring.
Yeah, so
whenever I've tried to play
I'll be frank with you. When I started Dragon Quest XI, after playing Dragon Quest 1 and 2 back on the DS and stuff like that, I mean the old game, Game Boy handhelds and stuff, I think Game Boy Color or something, it was boring. I fell asleep. I was playing with Hero and this little purple thing and everything, and I just fell asleep. I think the story is what kind of drew me in to getting comfortable with the combat, getting comfortable with the pacing, getting comfortable with like how calm the game was.
What was it about the story that drew you in? I'm just curious.
So you meet a guy, and that guy's kind of shifty, but he becomes your bro, and then I just think, like, once the way that happens, you get a little bit hooked. And then you go on a little bit of adventure. It's pretty linear for a while, but you get put in a jam, and then you get a little bit more hooked until you're motivated to be like, okay, now I have to go on this entire journey, because I'm not going to be satisfied with the outcome that I just got. Right, the outcome that was presented to me is not the one I would like to stay with, so I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to tell you, it took a while for me to like latch onto it like that, but I ended up platinuming the game. So that I'm just saying, I fell asleep. I used to try to run around with the guy and everything, talking to people.
Yeah.
And it is not very it's not action oriented excitement, but it gets there and it's weird. So
D7 says in the chat, Psychronic with all the hard questions.
I know, right?
Like what drew you into the story?
Yeah. Like for real, we should do like a post-mortem or something about some of these games, because RPGs are kind of like slow and stuff, but then once you get invested, that's where the meat of the interest comes from.
I really like RPGs are my favorite. Second favorite / second. It's like number 1 and number 2 are the same level. I really like strategy games and RPGs.
Mm-hmm. Problem with me is I've been playing a lot of games that are just like you create your own character and you go on about the game. But character development, So we were talking about the duality of it, how there's like growth, growth upward and then growth like outward. So I think some examples of that would be, I'm trying to think of, okay, so yeah, certain characters. So the traditional RPG, I think Japanese RPG trope is kind of a good model for character development because they focus on it, right? So if you play any game where you have to go and pick up all your friends and then you go and do your friends' side quests, that's the outward character development example there. I think, man, so many, I don't even know which one to pick. So I would say Chrono Cross. She, because of the whole Radical Dreamers, your little homegirl and all of her stuff, and then every side character has their they have specific quests for them. Xenoblade Chronicles, all of them. What else?
For me, I
Persona.
really liked the characters. I really liked the character development in like Xenogears as well, the original Xenogears.
Okay, I haven't played that one.
Oh, you haven't played that one? Oh yeah, it's fun. I hope they remaster it actually, because like the way that the 3D worked in it was a little bit jank, but the actual story was really good. And they didn't get a chance to finish it properly either because they ran out of time. So it plays totally like really good up until the second disc, and then the second disc is basically like the main character sitting in a chair, like almost being like interrogated, telling the rest of the story that you didn't actually get to play through. So but it was like really good up to that point. So it's like, I feel like it's a game that I'm surprised hasn't been remastered yet, because it'd be a really good one to remaster, I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm not as much of a fan of remakes. I'm more of a fan of remasters.
Yeah.
You make it the same game essentially, but just quality of life improvements and up the graphics to look better, but it's the same game basically, instead of like, we've reinvented the game into something else.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion.
Oh, okay. I hear the guys in the chat. Tactics was a good game. You talk about Tactics Ogre or Final Fantasy?
Oh yeah,
Tactics.
Tactics
Oh, I
is
see.
amazing.
Okay,
Final Fantasy Tactics, not the advanced one, but the War of the Lions. Yeah, that game was awesome.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with that game.
Oh, okay, for sure. Yeah, I played War of the Lions and that one, and the original PlayStation. Definitely, that's when I got into that.
And it was hard too. Like you get like to the point where sometimes you. And I like when tactics games have like permadeath, so you feel the pain if like a character dies. You're like, but this battle is so hard. Do I want to continue and let my character die, or do I go back and load the save file to save my character? Sometimes I would let them die.
Yikes! Well,
I didn't want to.
Check this out. Let's wrap up this topic with an example from an anime, which I think has really great character development. And that's Sword Art Online. Okay. So not so much the main character Kirito, but I think his girlfriend Asuna, right? Where the relationship between Kirito and Asuna happened, but anyway, Asuna, you get to learn more about her and her motives to even be playing a video game, but also like she isn't just a regular girl that you just kind of like save out of the blue. So I think that's why I liked first season of Sword Art Online, and don't ask me about any other ones, but I really enjoyed that one, for instance. And I think like a person could incorporate elements like that. You introduce a character, but then through some events you begin to learn more about the character, you like this character that you introduced, right?
Yeah, no, and also too, I want to kind of take note here that like the way that stories kind of work and characters kind of work in RPGs is a lot more. D7 was talking about how some people try to write a book, but it's a lot more like writing a movie or writing a script for a TV show or something, because you even have like the person's name above like their dialogue box and stuff like that. So like it's literally the same as if you're like reading a movie script and you see like the titles of the characters' names as they're talking, and then instead of a description of a scene, you show the scene, but it's written in a very similar way, and so back on the character development, my favorite for character development, and I'm talking about a show here, is like the 90s Star Treks, like Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, Voyager, whatever. They had really good character development because it was an ensemble crew, and so there's a lot of episodes where an individual crew member gets their specific due, and then a little bit of the plot situation added to this too is that there's scenarios that happen in every episode that then makes these characters grow over time, and especially when they go more serialized like Deep Space Nine, you see the characters change a lot from the beginning to the end, like from but that's just for me story wise, that's the there's some things that you watch once and you liked it, or you played once and you liked it, and there's some things that you go back and you watch it again and again, or you play it again and again for some reason because you like it that much. So for me it's definitely the 90s Star Trek.
Go ahead and Google 7 of 9 and you know why I like Deep Space Nine, you know what I'm saying? But next we got world building. Oh man, so I had a ton of examples of world building, but just to synopsize, get us into the topic, it's all about presentation, how your story impacts the elements around you that you interact with, but also the type of items you use, the type of people you talk to, and maybe even their accent if they have accents, their attitudes. Go ahead.
Well, like with world building, right? There are some, and we were just talking about Star Trek, so that's why I want to specifically bring this up in world building, because there are some franchises, and this can apply to a game, it can apply to a show, it can apply to a movie, whatever, where you get a very detailed sense of what this world. It's very detailed as a world, so so it feels relatable, or in some way, so Star Trek, for example, you have all these different aliens. They all have their own specific different cultures, and they all interact with each other. With the Federation, which is the Earth. It's a bunch of species, but managed by the humans, basically. The humans, the main players. But you get a really good sense of this feels like a very detailed world.
Let me hit you with a couple of offshoot examples that pop in my head that have good world building, right? Movies. Okay, as far as movies are concerned, you got the remake of the first Star Trek movie, probably came out 2007 or something like that. I think that was good. So now on the line of Star Trek, because you know about the Federation, but you don't really know how Captain Picard even came about, right? So I think that's his name, right? He's a young Captain Picard in the first movie, right?
Yeah, it's Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk, my bad. Kirk, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's
Picard's
a young.
the ball.
I know, right? So I'm trying to figure it. So young guy, really kind of, it's watch that movie. Good world building. Next is Starship Troopers. Might not be. It's really a simple story. Might not be the most in-depth story, but the world building is there because of elements like the news that plays, right? And it's talking about all the propaganda that constantly pushing propaganda.
Yeah.
Right. When you get to all of the different things that happen in the story, because they're in the military and stuff like that, all of the crazy weapons they got to use, everything kind of has a reason. Off the top of my head, Star Wars as well. When you think about those shock troopers and stuff, like stormtroopers, I think, right? Anyway, that's out there. But another.
But I want to refer to Part-Time Experience's comment on Star Trek versus Star Wars. So Star Trek did right in world building where Star Wars failed, in that Star Trek made it believable, or to the point that the suspension of disbelief wasn't difficult. meaning you could kind of, it was somewhat believable. Whereas in Star Wars, I do not get a sense that it is believable as far as like the way that would work. They have all the aliens. Because keep in mind, they have all the aliens. They do have aliens in Star Wars, but have you ever noticed you never really know what those societies or those cultures are like? They're just like humans with like prosthetic masks on, and they act like humans with prosthetic masks on. Like, like you don't even like know what their species are called,
right?
Or like what values they hold versus, you know, the humans or whatever. And then it's in a galaxy far, far away, and yet there's thousands of years of stagnant history where where like nothing has changed in that universe for thousands of years since the old Republic's been around and everything like that, right? You know,
hey, like for real, don't get me started. So I just think like, so all right, so man, there's so many overlapping concepts here. So when you think about the elements that build the world, there are elements there, but we're talking about almost like, dang, what's the other topic? I see where you're saying that, right? Because it literally can fall apart. So it's like you're building your story out of a structure, or you're building it out of Cheeto sticks or something, right? It's there, right, but it can fall apart, right? Yeah. So another one that I think is good was The Fifth Element, right? This is the last example. The Fifth Element. If you ever watched that movie, in the beginning, I think Bruce Willis, he's a taxi driver. He's like a nobody, but he's deep immersed in this whole world where his cars flying, a lot of cars are flying. But then fast forward, they use a lot of elements, like there's like a I think they go to some sort of concert or something like that, and then they definitely go to a concert. This woman singing, she's like crazy alien, but a bunch of stuff happens there. I think they allow the viewer enough time to see the world and what it is and how strange it is, so that the immersion can happen when when the plot starts rolling, right? So they spend enough time for Bruce Willis has to be a little a cab driver and all that BS. Then they spend enough time. They go there and they see the how people in the future would experience theater, and then they spend enough time trying to build some weird religion, so that then you can be immersed in the situation a lot better. So I think that's a good example. Man, as far as games, what do we got? What comes to mind? I think I had a list. I just gotta fish it up.
Yeah. No, I really like the Mass Effect games. Like for world building, you got all these like planets you can land on and stuff, and there's like so when we're talking about side content for games, right? Like where I thought it was done right is the way that they did it in like Mass Effect trilogy, mm-hmm. where you have your main story and you can go to that at any time, but you have the side content is what I would call short stories. Like, it's a scenario. It's something that happens when you land on one of these planets. Like, you land on one of these planets and you find that, like, they had been, like, nobody rescued them, and there was some kind of, like, pathogen that made them go, like, cannibal on each other and stuff like that. You're right. It was, like, it was like a plot, part of the plot, kind of, but it wasn't, like, the main thing. But anyway, all these different places felt like it was like a universe, or like a society, like a interstellar set of species with and different worlds and stuff like that. So I felt like it built the world up pretty good. What are some other ones? God, there's a and then Fallout, like Vegas, like New Vegas, and Fallout 3. I felt like that had a lot of really good world building too.
Yeah, like, I agree. But I could also argue that it was built on it had a meaty core, using that, I think, the 50s as like its core for the world building.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like retro futurism, mm-hmm. basically. Like what did they think about the future in the 1950s versus what we think about the future today, right?
Right, and which is not a bad idea.
No.
Let me go. But that could be.
Oh yeah, Valkyria Chronicles. Yeah, that one was good too. I really like that.
Oh, okay. So for world building, that could be a tactic that somebody could employ. That whole core, almost like setting or aesthetic that can assist with the world building, like you mentioned, the retro futurism, punk futurism, right? I think that's what the cyberpunk is, right? Punk rock futurism. When you think about these elements, they can help you with your world building, and then you throw a little bit of like your problem into the mix. When you see stuff like the eco reactor in Final Fantasy VII, you're there because they're drawing the eco, I think, from the earth, right?
The
Mako, that's what it is, right? From the earth. So it's like,
and the music really helped. For some reason, the music in that game was like really like you felt it for some reason with that music. When you're looking at that reactor and it has that weird like synth that's just like ominous synth sound. It sound like for some reason it makes you feel that reactor is like cancerous or something.
So
it's
yeah,
really,
the sounds and the audio,
like it feel yeah. And I really liked that world building in that game too, because the it was so relatable to like our world, where like it was like a corporation took over the government, took over everything and just runs everything, but it's like past its prime, and everything is like grimy and like decayed, and but it's also got some fantasy elements in it. They used I liked how they did materia, because it wasn't just like magic that came from their soul. It was an actual technological device that let them do magic.
Yep.
Right? And then you can combine them to make like different like combos and stuff. Like I feel like they pulled that off really well in that game, and it felt like it was part of the world, right?
Right. So don't just throw a song in your game because it sounds good. You want to see if it ties into your world. Maybe the setting. Maybe it's a theme appropriate song for your setting and what is happening at that point in time. And be okay with exploring other types of music, slow, fast, loud, calm, to set the tone.
Yeah, the right music for the right music for the right scene is how I would describe it. So like for me too, sometimes when I'm making my game too, that's what will stop me the longest is I know what scene I need to make, but I need to find the right music track for the scene, and you can't find it, and you're like looking, and I'm like, okay, as soon as I have the right music track for the scene, I can make the scene, and then as soon as I find the music track or make it, then I'm like, oh, this is it, and then I put it in, and then the rest just happens like in 5 minutes, because it's like perfect for what that scene is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. A lot of folks just use a boat because there's water, but given your world, and the plot and the setting and the type of game the type of story you want to tell, maybe a pterodactyl is better for transportation. You know what I'm saying? Like, so stuff like that.
Yeah, or a spaceship, or a time machine, or whatever.
Yeah, so world building, I think I did include a couple of examples that were like good examples of world building when I sent over.
And then Valkyria Chronicles, like what Part-Time Experience was saying, that game is good because it kind of feels like they did it in a really creative way, because it kind of feels like you're being drafted into World War II, but they don't use the real world. They use a different world, but it's very synonymous with like if these European nations like went to war and you get kind of like and you get attacked and you're drafted into the military and stuff like that. It felt like it felt good. Yeah. So I mean, it didn't feel good, but what I mean is like it felt like this was a world where real people were doing real things, getting thrown into real situations.
What? Okay, I'm gonna have to. I haven't played Valkyria Chronicles. I might look into that.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good story, but the gameplay is also pretty fun too. I like
Yeah,
it. I played the first one, and then for some reason they didn't come out with the second and the third one on PC, so I never played those. But then I played the fourth one, and I liked both of them. I liked both of them that I played.
oh, okay. What was it? Final Fantasy 9, I think, was, in my opinion, the best example of world building, because it was so different from, I think, 8 and 7. They have to work you over. They have to like let you know that this is not Final Fantasy 7 or 8. No Gunblade or
Oh yeah, it was definitely the world was definitely very different in 9. It was very wacky,
yeah,
very different.
on purpose. So they had to get you in that whole first
They
cutscene.
made it almost like you're in a dream or like surreal or something. It's really It's like very wacky. It looked good though. I liked it. It was a good game. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was. I didn't like it as much as 7, but I liked it.
Exactly. I'm not saying it's the best game. I'm saying it's a great example of specifically world building, because that's one thing Final Fantasy games must do well, and they do pretty well, because they go from game to game and they change, right? Final Fantasy 11 is different from 12, different from 13, and all of that. So they have to have that world building aspect there. So if you want a good example of that, the scenes that they put on display are like, here's how we enjoy ourselves. Here's how the peasants live. Here's how everything kind of happens, right? Here's your ragtag group of people. They set you up. I'm not saying have a huge long cutscene in your indie game, but if you want to see a good example of world building, you can incorporate those by figuring out what kind of locations you'll have. Maybe you'll have a location that really ties into the story. It's not just like the third town, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's hop along, because we are fighting with time, honestly.
Oh yeah, but it's been good though. I've been having.
Oh,
fun.
believe me, yeah, I would stay if I could. This would be one of the good long ones. Good long, pause. Anyway, our next topic is examples of great games with great stories. We've actually been doing this throughout the whole discussion.
yeah. It's hard to kind of silo them out into separate categories, but whatever.
Let me get chat real quick. So somebody says, the Trail series. Yeah, so you guys are talking about Valkyria Chronicles. Then there's the Trails. So there's a Tales of series, but then there's a Trails. I forgot. I haven't kept up with the Trails series, and that's something I've been thinking about getting into. But then they said, also with the world building, it's a good idea to make sure you set the theme of how everything looks, such as medieval fantasy versus for sure. Yeah. I don't know if we already kind of mentioned that, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because otherwise it won't necessarily be a believable world.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be able to suspend your disbelief while you're playing. Basically. Like when you have a game that's medieval, but then you walk into somebody's house and they have a TV.
Yeah,
and a computer.
For sure. Yeah, or a gun, But
yeah.
All right, so example, great story example games. What do you think, Psychronic? Give me one.
I've been talking about all the bigger games, but maybe we could talk about some RPG Maker games where we really like the story.
For sure.
But I don't know. One game that I recently played that I really liked. I don't think it hit some people as good, but I got really sucked into it, and it was an RPG Maker game. I really liked Deep 8.
Oh, okay.
Deep 8 was really good. I think it had some. I think some people didn't like the character design or something, but the game I thought had a really good plot, really good story, and good character development. And it was different. It was kind of weird and different, and weird because normally you see a lot of games that are the same. When it comes to bigger games, okay, I got a few favorites. I got my FF7. I got my Suikoden 2. I got my Xenogears. I got my Mass Effect. I got my Life is Strange. I got my Detroit Become Human. There's so many good games out there. I did like Baldur's Gate 3, although the setting isn't my favorite setting, but I like the game a lot. What are some others? Another one that I really liked recently that I played it was kind of dark too. It was in old school. It was called Scald. Scald Against the Black Priory. That game was pretty interesting. I had fun with that one.
Oh, you gonna make me pull up my Steam library now?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing right now. FF Tactics, Final Fantasy Tactics. That had a good story. That had a really good one. There's quite a few out there. I'm sure I'm forgetting some of them, but yeah, whenever a good story comes along, I get really hooked, and I just play the game like marathon until it's done usually. So like when I play a good story, I'll literally do nothing else except play the game until the story is done because I'm just sucked in. But that doesn't happen very often. Usually, like most stories are kind of mediocre.
Oh, okay.
But when they do hit right, they hit really right. I guess I'd put it like that.
All right. So RPG Maker for me would be Grand Soul Story.
That was good. I like that game.
And just out of nowhere is Yakuza 0. Great story. I'm not done all the Yakuza games, but so far so very good.
Also, what part-time experience is saying is I did play Biosynthetica. I played it earlier in its development, and I thought it was pretty good actually. It had some pacing issues, but I think that they fixed it. At the time, like it took a little too long to get started in combat in the originally, but I did feel like you were trying to find out what was going on in it, and I did enjoy that game too. But because we're talking about RPG Maker,
yeah, great, so. Another good game that is pretty. I would say it's a good story, but it's a good story you probably heard 1,000 times. It's called Unicorn Overlord. So and it has a plot twist. So I would say it's a story used as a vehicle for very engaging and in-depth RTS combat. So it's like a 2D what's that game? God, on the Nintendo Switch, it's the people, they're students, and they fight each other. It's a strategy. You got to move to the play. God damn it! I can't. What's this shit called? It's not Tag Zone. It's like, you remember that RPG, man? Where it's the three houses. The three houses.
I don't know.
Somebody knows in chat. It's the Fire Emblem. Yes. My God.
Fire Emblem.
So Fire Emblem. Yeah. So Fire Emblem.
I thought you were describing something in the game that there was three houses. Okay.
Yeah, it was killing me. It was really killing me. God. All right. So Fire Emblem Three Houses is good. Persona 5 Royale is good. I haven't played Persona 3. God, let me see here. I think I mentioned it. So yeah, Unicorn Overlord for sure. Play that. And I'm just really being very I'm being strict, because some games that are good have okay story, but not like really stand out. Like, remember that time you played that game type of story.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, guys, I think let me know in the chat for sure if you have any suggestions, what you think is a good story, any story that kind of makes you go like you put the game down and you stand up like, I just experienced something very memorable. I think you're constantly taking screenshots and stuff like that. That's a good story to me. Any game where you're free roaming and you want to go back to see how people are doing after what just happened, that I think that's a good story. Okay.
There's so many. I mean, there's actually not that many if you think about it, but there's like so there's been many that I've played that were really good, but like if you think about how many great stories there are out there, there are compared to how many other types of stories there are out there, it's still a pretty small list if you think about it.
Yeah. Man. Okay. So now let's jump to the last one we got before the conclusion, and that is stories that fell apart. And
Okay.
this is an easier one. This is an easier one.
Okay.
Because traditionally,
Okay.
stories are in video games. Stories are a vehicle to get you. Like if you ever played like Streets of Rage or whatever, they got to give you something. Mario, any Mario game, they got to give you something, some reason to jump to the next platform, some reason to get to the next stage. Now we're going to talk about stories that are like bad examples of good games that are bad examples of good stories. What you got, Psychronic?
I actually think that I actually kind of like Fallout 3, but I don't think the Fallout games were the best story. Like any of them didn't have like the best story. Sometimes they were fun to play, but I felt like the one that fell really flat on its head was 76. Fallout 76 is still an awful game. Like you know, like it's an online game. I at first I played it thinking it was gonna be like the other Fallouts because I like all the other Fallouts, but it has an especially like garbage story. It doesn't. There's no motivation to do anything. You're just going on like random fetch quests basically. And at first they didn't even have like NPCs you could talk to or any kind of narrative. It was just like computer logs and stuff. So I felt like that game fell apart right from the start as soon as it came out and is still falling apart now. But
Yikes.
there's others too. I'm gonna think of them, but that one immediately sticks out to me as like, and then also Starfield was shit too, because what happened in that game was it was just super boring. It was like a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah.
There was some of the stories, some of the little side stories that were good, but not very many. There was probably like 2 or 3 that were good, and then like all the rest were just really superficial, and I don't even care about what I'm doing in the story. Kind of.
Yeah. That was on my list. Starfield was on my list.
Starfield.
That was like on the top of my list, man. So, so the games I picked specifically are things that you could like go back to and just look at. Maybe I'll share like clips at some point of the specific moments where the story was bad. Now we talk about stories that fell apart. We're talking about, you know, you think you're doing one thing and you end up not even substantiating your own purpose, right? You get to the end and you're like, why did I even do that? Or you get to the end with a lot of questions like, why is this this way? Why do I have this power? Or why did I choose to go left when I could have clearly went right, and everybody, right would have been the best way to defeat the boss or something like that, right? But it also could be the characters just being out of tone, right? So you got characters who they might be kind of quick-witted, but the tone given a situation is completely off base. Like you're being sarcastic when somebody just died. No, like you're being sad when you're at the parade. So I think about those scenarios where are my characters right? Is my world building good? And then am I constantly everything I'm talking about, my story, does it in some way in the web line up with the plot, the whole purpose, right? Even if it's the parade troop that got derailed because there was a meteor crater in the middle of the road. Right now you're trying to cater to that parade troop or whatever, right? But it all ties in. So bad ones, for instance, if y'all have ever played like Star Ocean: The Divine Force,
Yeah,
it's
not very
horrible. Like from the
Not very
beginning, So
yeah.
you fire that one up, it's on PlayStation Plus or something like that, and you can see how bad that is.
Yeah, I've played that game and I did not like it.
Another one I got is Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 is a game I did play, so I know it's bad, but it also got me to not touch Inquisition. I did play the beginning of Inquisition, by the way, yeah, and it was not fun. But Dragon Age 2, I think it tried to take itself too lightly, where Dragon Age, the first one, was dark and serious, and really it was consequential, right? Dragon Age 2 was trying to be more action oriented. I think someone came in and said we need to have more mass appeal. So they changed a lot of the stories and situations where you're kind of like a general hero, a generic hero of sorts, and some of the side quests you take on a lighthearted and silly, where it's just off. It's like I was saying, it's just like you're not paying attention to the tone. You're just off, man.
Yeah, and I played the first Dragon Age game and I actually really liked it, but the second one didn't look very appealing to me. But
yeah,
the first one was it was made by BioWare, right? So it's like it had like that RPG feel to it, like the first Mass Effect and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So the first the first Dragon Age had the vision of a specific guy. The specific guy had the idea of the whole system. But then Dragon Age 2, I think that guy left the team, so they took a different direction, with more action oriented, and they slimmed it down a lot too. They trimmed down all of the options and stuff, so it was restrictive. I kind of like some of the action, but the protagonist was mad generic. Don't even get me started. I can talk all day. But also I got Final Fantasy 15 Bad Story. And like I said from the early in the podcast, it was like, you're going out on the open road, right? If anybody is aware of the development of Final Fantasy 15 specifically, they would know that it used to be, it was going to be, I think, the next Final Fantasy 13. It was supposed to be the next Final Fantasy 13, and there was a whole universe that was going to open up. It's literally called Universalis or something like that, Final Fantasy, and it got, I think it was like 10 years development hell, and they ended up having to kind of shoehorn in an ending that did not really fit all of the crap you was doing, and you also couldn't go back to the town you were at. A lot of the promotional content was showing off the dark new city that you were supposed to be the prince of. Did somebody say Trials of Cascadia? Looking at this.
No, they're asking if like if the video of the RPG Maker games that are in our video right now with the stories that fell apart, if we're specific.
Oh no, dang, we're not treating this game. No.
We're definitely not at all. No, it's just we just spliced all of the footage in a 2-hour long video to make it easy, and then put the titles on top, and it's just like basically like B-roll.
Yeah, that is biting us in the butt right now.
I just wanted to include the RPG Maker games in the experience rather than just focusing on like the biggest games ever made.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
is
saying?
Trials of Cascadia even out? I've been following it. I don't think it's out yet, but yeah, I'm looking forward to actually playing it when it does drop though.
It looks pretty good actually.
For sure. And then the last one I got is a game called Forspoken. Okay.
Yeah. No, thanks, Annoyed Nova. Though. Yeah. No misunderstanding. The title on that is not referring to the games.
Yeah.
Whether positive or negative.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. So yeah, like you mentioned, you wanted to pull in some examples of story-based, story-rich games into our that are specifically RPG Maker into our podcast, so people could kind of see those to bring light to that. So.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that it shows up on this part of the video. That was not intentional.
Right.
Sorry
See,
about
right doing that. So, yeah. And my last one was Forspoken, but then one more. It's called Indivisible. Okay, this game is a little It's a side-scrolling RPG game from the same people who made I can't remember, but look it up. It's like a female protagonist, but she is a good example of a character who's off tone. You're off tone. No matter what your what your personality is, you're just off the tone of the actual situation. And some of the characters are too quippy, right? They complain too much, and they always feel like they have to have snappy comebacks on the entire dialogue. So I would say check that out as well, because you got to know what's bad to know what's good. You feel what I'm saying? So
yeah, and sometimes it's so bad that it is good.
Hey, what? Let me know what game that is, because I couldn't tell you.
No, I'm just
Okay, well I think that brings us to the conclusion, and we are on a world record for time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Doing good.
Games need a story, albeit simple or complex.
Well, it depends on the game.
No.
RPG.
I think even Tetris had a story, man.
Really?
Yes. So look that up. Tetris. Anyway, I think that a story is very critical to getting the player engaged, and then getting them invested and continue playing. So it is good to consider the pacing, the world building, the character structure, the character development, in order to
the whole package,
all of the things
basically
that we mentioned, in order to get someone engaged, to give them a good experience,
and to provoke emotional experience, to make them feel something when they play this story.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to invoke an emotion. Is a good, man, works both ways, right? They end up with a good experience, shock value, right? Maybe their mental was tested, maybe their morals were challenged, and then they bring that to the next player. Say, hey, it's just like a book, right? A good book, good fictional book. You go, this is what you'll get out of this, right? And let me know, right? And then they share that information. So we're excited to see in this coming new year what stories you guys have to tell in your indie games, and also games that you're playing too, right? So anything you want to say before we sign off, D7? I mean, it's Psychronic on that.
Yeah. So I would just kind of echo that. What makes a great story is, if you add it all up, it's basically the whole package, all the different areas that have been described, and if you have the right, I think of it almost like a recipe. You're making a recipe for a cake, and did it have all the right ingredients and the right proportions to get a very nice cake, or not? And so I think and I think it's actually really hard to pull it off 100% right. And I think that's why even big games with lots of budgets, lots of writers even, and sometimes turn out awful. It's easier said than done to pull off a good story. I'm trying to pull off making a good story too. I've gotten better over time. I'm still not where I need to be yet, but I'm getting better, and I'm looking forward to releasing my next game as well to get what I think is a good story out there. So I'm at least I'm trying, right? So and I look forward to playing other people's jank stories as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope with each new game that it's a good one, right? Like because it always hits you by surprise, or for me, it hits me by surprise. I find something on accident, and then I play it, and I'm like, this is good, and then I get sucked in. So I'm always happy when that happens. I always have like a really good week or two when that happens. So I'm hoping some of the games that we play will end up being like that, but we'll see.
Yeah, with that said, I think that brings us to the end of our discussion. Guys, thanks again for tuning in. We love doing this, and thanks for sitting through the technical difficulties and stuff. And being as though it is holiday, season, our podcast may be a little spotty, but stay tuned. Nonetheless, look out for us on Twitch and YouTube. What do you do? Follow us on there or subscribe. Follow us on Twitch and subscribe to us on YouTube. And with that said, enjoy the rest of your night, morning, afternoon, and
Wherever you are in the world.
we'll see you guys next time.
On the next one.
All right, peace out.
Peace.